Joe Biden's new gun owner tax. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of Heise Says US. Grab your stein of coffee or your cup of joe, and let's have a look at this article from the Mises Institute about Joe Biden's huge new tax on gun owners. I'm sure a lot of the Americans are gonna really love that. So, Joe Biden's gun policy platform offers support for almost all conceivable forms of government restrictions on the Second Amendment. This includes bans and restrictions on sales, expansion of registration and background checks, expansion of buyback programs, and gun-grabbing statutes, and the closure of all sorts of loopholes. So, while we are only at the policy platform stage, where proposals are grandiose and imprecise, Biden's legislative agenda will clearly be anti-Second Amendment and not a program to reduce crime and violence. First, he wants to stop the gun violence epidemic with restrictions on rifles when it is handgun shootings, not rifles, that are a problem, and one that is mostly confined to big cities controlled by leftists. Second, he wants to go after assault weapons and weapons of war when he should know that rifles like the AK and AR Sporters are not military-grade, fully automatic weapons. Third, he would like to hold gun manufacturers civilly liable for criminal acts committed with guns. Oh, come on. A move that would shut down the industry, the true goal. That is just insane. That is just utterly insane. You voted for this guy. You voted for him. I mean, come on. That is just crazy. You want to stop gun violence? It's really simple. Well, actually, no, it's not really simple. You need to improve the quality of life of people. You need to improve the opportunities for inner city people so they're not having to resort to crime, or that they're not in a neighborhood where they feel like they need to defend themselves. Too bad now, because you're getting a lot of normal people rushing out and buying guns in America because of just all the violence in the streets, because of all of the leftist protesters, the literal Marxists that are marching through the streets, the people who are actually fascists pretending not to be. It's crazy. In support of the government's buyback, i.e. the carrot, Biden has added a gun tax for anyone who wishes to keep their rifles and high-capacity magazines. If you want to avoid the buyback and keep your guns and high-capacity greater than 10 rounds, oh boy, magazines, you will have to register both under the National Firearms Act, which triggers a $200 tax for each rifle and magazine. The stick behind the stick is a penalty of up to 10 years in federal prison and a $10,000 fine. Registration involves filling out a 13-page registration form and providing fingerprints and a photograph of yourself. This is insane. I mean, here in Australia, getting a gun, you have to jump through all these loopholes. I would like to get a firearm. I would like to learn how to go hunting and at least have something as a deterrent. I will look into it once I finish my house renovation so I can actually have a proper place to store it safely. But the loopholes you have to jump through here in Australia are crazy. I mean, this is just nuts. This is certainly bad enough for gun owners and Americans in general, but if history is a teacher, the end result could be much worse, potentially catastrophic. Biden was sold to the American voter in 2020 as a moderate of the Democrat Party. He was not a conservative, but neither was he an AOC progressive or a Sanders socialist. His image was a white moderate male, was also used to help sell the voters on Barack Obama. There was also a time when Biden was actually a pragmatist on Second Amendment rights. As the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, he helped pass the '86 Firearm Owners Protection Act, which overturned decades of anti-gun court rulings and regulations to restore most gun owners' rights and re-expanded commerce by eliminating restrictions on how and where guns could be sold. The legislation's passage helped lay the foundation of the modern gun rights movement, according to Biden, the pragmatist, circa '85. During my 12.5 years as a member of this body, I've never believed that additional gun control or federal registration of guns would reduce crime. I'm convinced that a criminal who wants a firearm can get one through illegal, non-traceable, unregistered sources. with or without gun control. In my opinion, a national register or ban of handguns would be impossible to carry out and may not result in reductions in crime. Well, that's what dementia does to you, though, you know. So in his younger days, seemed quite sensible. Despite his recognition of the futility of using gun control to reduce crime and gun violence, the pragmatist turned to the dark side when it became politically expedient to do so. Oh, well, there you go. Well, he is a career politician. In 1993, he helped pass the Bradley Handgun Violent Prevention Act, which required background checks through a new national checking scheme, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. The next year, he helped obtain a 10-year ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazine sales. As vice president, he was President Obama's point man in developing legislative proposals and executive orders to shore up gun control at the national level. And yet even the administration admitted that gun control is almost a futile endeavor and that their efforts amounted to little more than feel-good measures. Well, that's what most of politics is, particularly from the leftists. A lot of it, in the end, is nothing but feel-good measures. While no law or set of laws will end gun violence, it is clear that the American people want action. If even one child's life can be saved, then we need to act. Oh, disgusting. I mean, this is just an appeal to emotion. I'm not even going to read it. I mean, you can use these appeals to emotion and tragedy to restrict people's liberties. That's what they're doing. Indeed, with more than a century of experience, we know that gun control does not reduce crime, but rather increases it, as John Lott has demonstrated. According to Lott's evidence, and that of independent researchers, no form of gun control has positive effects, and most forms have negative effects on crime, murder, and mass shootings. Indeed, the most noteworthy policies that improve these problems are the elimination of gun-free zones and the expansion of concealed carry laws. With respect to Biden's proposed gun tax, what are the expected outcomes? The tax is certainly not designed to raise revenue, as it would raise little and entail a good deal of bureaucratic spending. It would no doubt encourage gun buybacks and reduce gun ownership at the margin, but to what end? It would mostly impact responsible gun owners economically impacted by the lockdowns and unemployment. These are the gun owners who reduce crime rates because of the deterrence factor they provide. The gun tax would also encourage the diversion of guns and high-capacity magazines to the black market. Most importantly, would the gun tax reduce access to guns, in turn reduce crime and violence? Biden has already admitted that the answer is a no. A criminal who wants a firearm can get one through illegal, non-traceable, unregistered sources with or without a gun control. Efforts to reduce gun violence through policies of red tape and taxes are doomed to fail and only lead to further inroads of enhanced policies of restrictionism and even outright prohibition. For example, in order to address the real and imagined problem of narcotics addiction, which is already in decline at the end of the 19th century, the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act was passed in 1914 to regulate the tax and production, importation, and distribution of opiates and cocaine products. However, the courts interpreted the legislation to mean that doctors could prescribe these drugs in the course of normal treatment, as a dental anesthetic or for short-term pain management, for example, but not as a treatment for addiction. This turned regulation into prohibition and quickly turned the imaginary crimes of blacks and Asians into very real crimes across the country. Desperate addicts were willing to pay high prices and commit crimes to satisfy their addictions, and smugglers and drug dealers quickly developed a black market. Similar negative consequences resulted from the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, which started as a tax to reduce imagined crimes by minorities, i.e. reefer madness. Reefer madness? I haven't heard that one. Only to quickly develop into an outright prohibition. Fortunately, we as a people have recognized this mistake and have moved to legalize cannabis and hemp, i.e. marijuana, in a state-by-state process that works in the face of federal and international law. As horrific and far-reaching as the consequences of the war on drugs have been, the consequences of common-sense gun control laws are potentially much greater in the long run. It is very important. In a very important contribution, Stephen Holbrook demonstrated that the Nazi used gun registration information instituted and collected by the Weimar regime to rapidly disarm the Jews and other political adversaries. There you go. This in turn greatly facilitated the Holocaust. A disarmed American population would similarly be much more vulnerable to political repression. But putting this possibility aside, Biden's gun control proposals, including the gun tax, offer no possibility of improved security, while most of them will make us less secure and more prone to crime and violence. Most importantly, they are an affront and threat to our liberty as enshrined in the Second Amendment to the Constitution. So there we have it, everyone. Biden's gun tax and the slippery slope that it could potentially lead, based on, not hearsay, but on precedent. So what do you all think? Are you a pro-gun owner? Do you have one in America, or do you have one here in Australia? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. If you're a fan of the channel and want to support the content I expose here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Aussie Broadband. You can buy merch from Teespring or Heise Says, or you can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint or PayPal. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.